As the 2026 US-Iran conflict escalates following a strike, the world watches the unfolding situation with bated breath. In the middle of this geopolitical storm, Germany, led by Chancellor Friedrich Merz, charts its own strategic course. To understand their decisions, we must first dissect the current German position of pragmatic Atlanticism. Let's first define Germany's central strategic thesis, pragmatic Atlanticism. This approach, championed by Chancellor Merz, signals a definitive pivot from Germany's traditional middleman role. Their current strategy provides full political and rhetorical backing to US and Israeli strikes against Iran. This public endorsement stands in stark contrast to their strict stance on direct military action. Let's look at the main benefits of this approach. First, the strategic shift is incredibly effective at diffusing an imminent economic threat from the United States. Germany faces 20% tariffs on their vital auto exports. However, by aligning strongly with the US politically on Iran, Berlin secures essential economic breathing room and prevents immediate retaliatory trade measures. The second benefit of pragmatic Atlanticism is internal to the German political sphere. For Berlin, supporting Israel is a core component of Staatsräson, or reason of state. By offering diplomatic cover to US-Israeli strikes, the Merz government upholds a non-negotiable foreign policy pillar while degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities without the domestic risk of putting German soldiers in harm's way. Furthermore, the policy secures two additional crucial advantages. First, this strategy ensures that Germany maintains its influence within the NATO decision-making core. This allows Berlin to avoid the paralyzing international isolation experienced during the 2003 Schroeder-style dynamic, when Germany was a vocal opponent of the US-led Iraq invasion. Now let's examine the negative impacts. However, this strategy carries significant drawbacks. The primary economic drawback is the economic damage of warflation. The price of crude oil has already skyrocketed to over $116 per barrel. This severe energy price spike is stalling German industrial output and effectively killing any projected GDP growth. A second significant drawback is the resulting strain on the home front. Berlin and major German cities are being hit with massive anti-war protests. This domestic turmoil puts immense pressure on the governing coalition. The second major risk of retaliation involves non-kinetic warfare, as Germany faces an escalated threat of Iranian cyber attacks targeting utility grids and financial systems. Finally, Berlin faces intense international and regional criticism. The strategy opens the Merz government to scathing accusations of political hypocrisy regarding international law, undermining their moral authority. Furthermore, there is a very direct and tangible threat of retaliatory strikes against Germany's key energy assets and strategic infrastructure across the Middle East and Persian Gulf regions. Moving beyond the current strategy, let's analyze a far more assertive approach. We move to the next scenario, full military involvement alongside the United States. While this direct confrontation with Iran seems extreme, for Germany, it offers a dramatic list of potential strategic, military, and long-term economic rewards that would redefine its global role. Let's look at the main benefits of this approach. The primary and most immediate benefit is total economic security with the United States. This approach guarantees Germany a permanent exemption from all US protectionist taxes, including the critical 20% auto tariff. Germany's vital industrial base secured access to the largest Western market without barriers. The second major benefit extends to post-conflict reconstruction. Military participation guarantees German industry secure, priority access to a future post-war Iranian energy sector and highly lucrative reconstruction contracts. Berlin effectively ensures its place at the head table to benefit from Iran's massive resources once stability returns to the region. The third, fourth, and fifth benefits secure Germany's strategic future. First, Germany definitively becomes the primary US security partner in all of Europe, cementing their relationship for decades. Second, this alignment accelerates the modernization of the Bundeswehr through rapid transfer of advanced US military technology. Finally, Germany gains the direct, active ability to shape the political and geographic map of a new Middle East. Now let's examine the negative impacts. We must transition from the benefits to the extremely severe costs. Military involvement isn't just risky. For Germany, it's existential. The strategic rewards of direct military alignment with the US come at a catastrophic domestic and reputational price. The first drawback is a complete constitutional barrier. Direct military involvement is a non negotiable violation of the German Basic Law or Grundgesetz, which explicitly forbids aggressive war making. The second risk is an immediate, deadly threat of terror and drone strikes launched directly on German soil by Iranian proxies in retaliation. A third severe consequence is reputational disaster. Germany suffers a total and likely permanent loss of all diplomatic credibility with the entire global South, undermining decades of trust building efforts. A fourth consequence is economic, requiring massive, unsustainable military expenditure precisely during an intense national economic downturn, further draining an already strained budget. Finally, the scenario ends in a complete political implosion on the home front. The combined weight of massive public protests, legal challenges to the basic law, and spiraling national debt will almost certainly trigger the immediate collapse of the governing coalition. This high probability makes a government failure and snap elections an inescapable reality. Finally, we must explore the most controversial alternative. Let's move to the next scenario. Germany taking a critical or anti-war stance, effectively supporting the Iranian side of the argument. While diplomatically isolating, this path prioritizes international law and internal social stability over the Atlantic Alliance. Let's look at the main benefits of this approach. The first benefit is the potential for energy security through unconventional means. By staying neutral, Germany could secure discounted, backdoor energy supplies via neutral peers. Secondly, this position protects German exports to Iran-aligned markets, maintaining a foothold in regions where Western influence might otherwise vanish. The third and fourth benefits focus on Germany's role as a moral and diplomatic leader. This stance upholds the rules-based order and international law, positioning Berlin as the primary mediator for a potential ceasefire. By refusing to support the strikes, Germany keeps a channel open to Tehran that other Western powers have completely severed. The fifth benefit is purely domestic. An anti-war stance significantly calms Germany's internal landscape. It addresses the demands of massive anti-war movements and aligns with the sentiments of large migrant populations who are deeply opposed to Western military intervention in the Middle East, preventing widespread civil unrest. Now let's examine the negative impacts. The risks of this lone wolf approach are immediate and catastrophic. Moving against the US and Israel doesn't just cause friction, it triggers a systematic dismantling of Germany's Western security and economic foundations. The first drawback is an economic death blow. Washington would likely respond with devastating secondary sanctions on German industry, effectively cutting off German companies from the global dollar-based financial system. The second drawback is a total and permanent diplomatic rupture with both Washington and Tel Aviv, destroying decades of trust. A third significant risk is the betrayal narrative within Europe. This stance would be seen as a backstab by NATO allies, specifically Poland and the Baltics, who rely on a unified front. Furthermore, Germany would be left with no defense or leverage against a potential Iranian nuclear breakout, losing all influence over the regional arms race. The final drawback is the end of the current leadership. For a conservative government under Chancellor Merz, this pivot would be seen as a total surrender of core principles, resulting in immediate political suicide. The internal party revolt and loss of conservative voter support would ensure the government's swift and unceremonious downfall. Finally, we must examine a strategy of absolute caution. Let's move to the next scenario, staying neutral through strict non-alignment. In this model, Germany refuses to pick a side, attempting to weather the storm by remaining a silent observer. This path seeks to shield the nation from the direct heat of the conflict. Let's look at the main benefits of this approach. The first benefit is maintaining the moral high ground, which preserves Berlin's potential as a future mediator. Secondly, this stance significantly minimizes the risk of direct military or terrorist retaliation on German soil. By staying out of the fight, Germany avoids becoming a target for either side's aggression. The third and fourth benefits focus on resource management and long-term stability. This strategy allows Germany to focus its limited military and financial resources on the ongoing Ukraine-Russia front. Furthermore, it avoids dragging the country into a potentially long, messy Middle Eastern quagmire that could drain national morale for a generation. The fifth benefit is the prevention of further social polarization. By refusing to take a side in a conflict that deeply divides the German public, the government prevents further internal friction. This quiet approach keeps the peace at home, even as the world outside becomes increasingly volatile. Now let's examine the negative impacts. Neutrality in a total conflict often leads to irrelevance. The first drawback is that Germany is effectively ignored by both Washington and Tehran. Berlin loses its seat at the table, finding itself with zero influence over the events that directly impact its own future. The second and third drawbacks are centered on security and economics. Without an active alliance, Germany loses its security umbrella protection if the war expands beyond the Persian Gulf. Economically, Berlin faces the worst of both worlds. It gains no special trade deals with the US and receives no energy discounts from the East. A fourth consequence is the deepening perception of Germany as a free rider. NATO allies and global partners may view Berlin as a nation that enjoys Western security benefits without being willing to share the risks. This damages Germany's reputation as a reliable partner, leading to long-term diplomatic cooling within the alliance. Finally, the neutrality scenario results in a total loss of leverage. When the war eventually ends, Germany will have no say in the inevitable post-war trade settlements or the new regional architecture. By choosing to stay out of the conflict today, Berlin ensures it has no part in the economic and political rewards of tomorrow. To conclude, Germany is currently caught in a pragmatic trap. It pays a high economic price through energy inflation for a war it did not start, while supporting a narrative that the conflict itself often violates. This words without deeds strategy is a temporary fix. If the war continues, Berlin must eventually choose between total deindustrialization or a catastrophic social and legal crisis.